Welcome to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo, Dr. Shirley and medium Kelly White. Two perspectives, one world. This is Both Sides Now.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Both Sides Now. I'm Dr. Shirley.
And I am spiritual medium Kelly White. And hi, John.
Hey, ladies, how's it going today?
Well, foofa.
That's a good question, right?
Kelly, you'll tell us. It's wow.
I suppose we should just jump on in.
Yeah,
It's very difficult. This is a very difficult time in the world here. I mean, from a spiritual standpoint that we'll talk about, from a psychological standpoint, it's very tough, very tough. And I've had more people call me today and text me and email me of how traumatized they are, how stressed they are. They're crying. And, you know, for an empath, this is really rough. This is really rough. And for me, I have to say, last night, I saw that they were looting where, and there was all of this going on where I used to live in Los Angeles and where it happened during the Rodney King riots. And when I saw it, it actually went into my system again. Like I remembered it. So not only remembered it, but the trauma came back up. And that was hard. I started sobbing, you know. So I really can appreciate people out there that are having these emotions, having these big emotions. But
absolutely,
because it's a very, very difficult time. So I thought what I would do is I'm going to start with the astrology. And John, tell them what I'm doing tomorrow, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so tomorrow Kelly is going to be actually on Soul Care with James. So it's going to be amazing. James is going to have Kelly on noon at Soul Care on James's page. It's on Facebook, and you guys can click a button there and get a reminder, because the reminders are posted all over our page and James's page. And Kelly's going to be talking about the astrology, talking mainly about the eclipse energies and the retrograde energies that we are faced with during this time. And our first eclipse is on
the 5th, June 5th,
which is Friday, and that is also an evening of spirit with James. So it's going to be
and I'm tomorrow when I do that show, I'm going to really go through event by event. So tonight I thought I would go through some of the highlights, you know, and then tomorrow I'm really going to dig into it. So June is a really rare month. It's a rare month for so many reasons. Number one, we have 3 eclipses in a lunar period and a 30-day period. It's very rare. The last time something like this happened, between the year 2000 and the year 2050, it's happened 14 times. It will have happened 14 times. So it's a really rare. But today, if we just start with the energy of today, okay? So today is June 1st, 2020. It's an 11-day. And if you look at the energy of an 11-day, there are 3 big energy bombs, if you will, an 11, a 22, and a 33. And they're spiritual numbers, and 11 means the teacher. So really, what are we learning right now? And 11 brings its own power to the day. And of course, as we're speaking right now, cities across the country are they're in lockdown. They're in, it's not just from the quarantine now. It's, times have been set. I know in Beverly Hills today, it was 1:00 in the afternoon that the city was shut down. I know, which is really makes me very sad for my hometown and for the towns all over the country. It makes me very, very sad. But so today's an 11, and it's we've got some most amazing, intense energies coming up. So let's start with, because today's not enough, right? Let's start with June 3rd, because I think June 3rd is a big one. So let me just backtrack. We have 4 planets in retrograde, and this month we're going to have 6 planets in retrograde.
Wow.
So that alone is rough. And I want to say this about this month. There are 3 things I want you guys to remember. The last time Saturn was retrograde in Aquarius, the last time, this is the period that we're in right now, was during the Rodney King riots in 1992. And if you go back,
it can't be a coincidence.
No. It's a 28-year cycle, and if you go back 28 years from that to 1964, that was civil rights. Okay, that's Saturn in Aquarius. Aquarius means new age, new way of thinking. We're going to change the system. And Saturn is
Wow.
the old way. No, you're not going to. Oh, yes, we are. And it's karma, and it's intense, right? It's very intense.
Wow.
And then that's not enough, because that's just not enough. Renee says, tell me all about it. I'm feeling all the power, energy, and pain. Right on, Renee. It's very true. I feel the same way. It's like power and energy and pain. That's good words for that. And then the last time Pluto was in Capricorn, because Pluto was a really slow moving planet, and the last time that was in Capricorn in retrograde was during the, wait for it, the American Revolution in like 16
Are you
seven.
kidding me?
No.
Okay, now my left plane is just going crazy.
There's one more. There's one more, Cheryl. There's one more. There's one more. And Neptune will be in Pisces, retrograde in Pisces, this coming up on June, I think it's 23rd. And that was when Rome fell. Wow. Those are big ones. These are big hitters.
Huge.
These are huge. So what am I saying? Change is on the way. And all the events, I have so many notes that I couldn't even keep them up on my thing. I have to actually hold on to them. There's so many notes here. But in this year or this month, there's so many hurdles that are going to unravel that it expedites the inevitable events of life. And we've got some big events of life coming up. Wow. So if we just start with June 3rd coming up, Venus is retrograde, which means Venus in retrograde is look at your relationships. Venus is the planet of love. It's in Gemini. It's going to bring about change in the relationships of all the people you know, love relationships. Very, very powerful time. And when it conjuncts the sun, that means it's like right there next to the sun. The energy exudes from it. And so it's almost as if like a part of us has to die to get our new self, for the new selves to emerge. So it's a very, very intense day on June 3rd. And it's also the day that Venus transforms from an evening star to a morning star. So that's big change in energy. But let's talk about the first eclipse, June 5th, 2020. First eclipse.
And right before we get into that, Cal, I want to mention that we're having solar flares, the strongest they've ever been in 3 years. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, solar flares are affecting us, and what that does is that affects the electromagnetic energy, and that makes it very difficult to sleep. And it gets racing thoughts, anxiety, all of those kind of things. So intense time.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I've been up for the last 3 or 4 days, just 6 in the morning. I'm like, what? Go back to bed. No, I can't. And before I forget, I want to give a shout out to Prajna, who I think is watching from India.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Prajna. I hope you're having a beautiful day.
Yeah, and we haven't. What was that, John?
I was just telling Cal if she could just drop her mic down just a little bit. It's just a little hot.
Yeah.
Thank
you. And Gretchen from Germany, who's always listening to us.
Oh, well, hi. That's sweet. Okay, so what was I saying here?
Can't sleep. We're talking
you can't sleep.
And then you're going into talking about the first eclipse.
The eclipse, yeah.
Oh my God. So this eclipse is so intense. The first one. It's a 33-day to begin with, numerologically. So this eclipse, and this is, by the way, not the biggest eclipse. Biggest eclipse is June 21st. This, though, is extremely powerful. And what this is, it's a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. And also at the same time, Sun and Mars square off. That's really not good. It means change and transformation. And it's going to be a doozy, as they say. It clears the air. It makes things, change. Things will be revealed. Claim your power. Definitely want to claim your power. And it's a whole new path that's going to emerge during this period of time. So that's this first eclipse on June 5th. But on June 6th, because we don't get a break here, Mars squares the sun. And that's about enemies. Mars is the planet of war. and it's squaring the sun. This is not good. So it's going to be leading to like ego conflicts and power and impatience and aggression and destructive energies. So we're so not done yet with this is just the beginning as we're walking into this.
It's interesting. I've been saying this is the trailer to the movie.
Oh my
So
God.
we're getting
Wow.
glimpses of what is about to happen on a grander scale,
Yeah.
as if it's already happening, but then the full-fledged events once we get later into June. So
Oh, yeah. Wow. And then let's just jump from there till June 18th when Mercury goes retrograde. That'll be the 5th planet retrograde.
Hmm.
Now, this Mercury retrograde is in Gemini. Gemini is air. So, what does that rule? Well, that rules things like hurricanes, plane troubles, communication, internet trouble. I've been saying that all along because it's in Gemini. Gemini rules communication, but it also rules air. So that is going to be a difficult Mercury retrograde. It's never that easy, but this one's a more difficult one. But that's still not the worst of all of it. But because when we get to June, but there's more. On June 21st, it's a solar eclipse in Cancer. And this goes back to the solar eclipses that we had, let's see, last year. And in at the beginning of the year too. So this is the most important eclipse of the year because it's at 0 degrees in Cancer. And 0 degrees means it's like not moving. It's very, very powerful at 0. And it's a very potent one. And it's going to balance personal freedoms against responsibility and restrictions. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of war. I mean, I've been saying that all along, but
Yeah, you
this
have.
is a very, very intense eclipse. So that's what's going to go on there. And then by the time we get to June 23rd, Neptune goes retrograde. And again, as I said, one of the times that Neptune was retrograde in Pisces was when Rome fell. That's just one of many, but it means truth will be revealed. So whatever is going on this month in your personal life, actually, and in the bigger picture life, in both lives, it's like reality is going to hit really hard. So if you have an addiction to something like alcohol or drugs or even porn or gambling or anything that you use as an escape, there'll be a big change in that because there'll be some sort of an intervention or something would happen because it's going to be that type of energy. It's like you can't lie to yourself anymore. You can't continue to do things anymore that you used to be able to do.
I mean, it seems like everything is aligned to wake people up in such a deep way, which we've seen also when the whole
Yeah.
COVID started.
This whole period that we're in for the rest of our lives is about waking up.
Yeah.
It used to be, and I'll just say this, Cheryl, it used to be that, I was born in the United States. I was born here. And of course, the big thing is, I always thought, well, I did come from privilege. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I had a lot of privilege. And I always thought, well, that's great that got to be put here. And, I always thought, how interesting is that I got put here and this family and this, whatever. Well, the truth is, I woke up this morning and I said, oh my God, I think the United States is the most unconscious place in the world. No wonder I got put here. I got put here because I have to wake people up.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, God, seriously? Oh my God. I had such an awakening with that moment that I have to start waking people up because with privilege, I'll never forget this. I had a boyfriend. He's dead now, but I would tell you this, Rick, I know you're listening. He was very wealthy and he used to say the same thing, always say to me, if you have wealth, you must have responsibility. And with great privilege comes great responsibility. And this United States has not had it. Very little of it, I think. Very little of it. And there is no consciousness. This consciousness has got to change now. People have to wake up. And Susie says, since we choose to be here now, are we the ones really to make a difference? Yes. Thank you for asking that, Susie.
Yeah.
Yes, we all have to make a difference, because I don't care if it's a kid looting. I don't care if it's me. It really doesn't matter what is going on. You are connected to every soul that is on this planet. And we're only as good as our weakest link. And we've got some weak links out there because everybody's unconscious. I said it, Cheryl. And globally, we are not separate from each other globally either. We're all interconnected. It's amazing how we are all so interconnected, and every soul is linked. And we're in a crisis right now. And it all begins with unconsciousness. And in this period of time, the way this period is designed, if you will, is to wake us up. And so you'll have some really rough times. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough.
Yeah.
We all wanted to be here for this
But
time of great change.
To change things, it can't be easy. I mean, it cannot be easy.
No, it's not. It's not, because people want to keep what they have. They don't want to. They don't want to change. People don't want to change.
But because the brain doesn't like change because it feels unsafe. Change feels unsafe to the brain, and so you want things to stay the same. However, we need to really pull from ourselves and realize when change needs to happen. For example, what we're seeing now in racism and unfairness, and that needs to change.
Right.
Absolutely, hands down, it needs to change. And noticing your own biases, if you have any. I can't remember who told me that if you look at someone and you notice a bias come up, thank that person for reminding you, of that. And then switch your thought process of it, because we're all born with it. It's not like we haven't heard that and it hasn't been conditioned in us, but things need to change. I mean, what's been happening and all over the world is in our own nation. I mean, what's been happening here is completely horrific.
It's totally horrific. Things have to change. We have to start experiencing the ability to have a consciousness of what we're doing in every one of our behaviors. It's literally looking inward to remind yourself that you are a soul lucky enough to be here to have an experience, and you have a consciousness that's here, and your consciousness is how you think, how you act. You have to get very in touch with your consciousness. Who am I? What am I doing? What is my responsibility to myself, to my soul, to hear what is my responsibility?
Kelly, what are your thoughts? I wanted you to share this with us about George Floyd. He came in to maybe sacrifice himself as a way to wake people up.
That's my belief. So I believe that the universe gives us opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. It may take 28 years in another cycle, but actually it's going to go faster now. And for instance, let's say we can use an analogy of you're in a bad relationship and you finally get divorced. And guess what? You pick the next relationship and it's worse. Okay. Because what were the red flags? It's the same principle to this. The universe is going to give us another opportunity to stop racism, to wake up, to change your consciousness. And I believe, just like with Rodney King, I believe and I was there during the riots. I was actually a mile away from the 1992 riots in LA, which changed my life forever. And the trauma was unbelievable. But I knew that he was a volunteer. I would call them volunteers, somebody that is such a high caliber soul that says, you know what, I can do that. And what happens on the other side is they really work with this soul. They really work so deeply with this soul that is going to take this deep incarnation to affect change. So he'd be a high vibration soul. Only a high soul could do that. And his family, I saw his family today on the news, and the brother, I was moved to tears. He was so spiritual. So, his consciousness was so high. And I knew that family had supported this in having even the family come in. It's a high vibrational family that comes in to have this incarnation, to take this kind of deep experience
Yeah.
that affects change for everybody in the world,
Yeah.
globally.
Yeah. Yeah. We cannot focus on the riot piece. We really need to stay focused on the bigger piece, which is the killing of innocent people in such a brutal and sadistic and lack of remorse way. We have to continue to focus on that. The rights, it's such a layered, it's so layered. We can't just focus on that and say, well, they're ruining their cause, because we don't know. There's been reports and actually videotapes of people instigating it to get the protesters riled up.
Right.
And so then the finger can be pointed to the protesters. We can't focus on the rioting piece. I mean, if we look at history, the Boston Tea Party was a huge, looting, of tea, which cost millions. And we still talk about it as if it made the difference in how our country began. So we can't just focus on that piece until you lived in someone's shoes and you don't know the rage and the anger of living with racism every single day, noticing that the store clerk maybe is now following you through the store, or that there's extra measures, and not understanding if maybe that's just a natural thing that they do, or it's because of the color of my skin. We cannot judge people if we haven't lived in their shoes.
Right. And this goes back generations and generations
Oh,
and
yeah.
generations and generations. I think it goes back probably to the beginning of time here. Whenever there was a difference, somebody looked different. I really believe that. I think it goes so far back from when this planet was seeded, if you will, with souls. I think it started then. I think that the consciousness of this planet was always low.
But that's why we have to be so conscious, as you're talking about, and wake up, because yes, a lot of studies show that we, because of, for evolution reasons, in order to survive and for the species to stay alive, it was us against them, because we couldn't trust if they were coming to, even the tribes, the nomadic tribes. So yes, that is part of the evolutionary part of the brain, but that's why it takes a very conscious effort to decide, no, I'm not going to be that way. I'm not going to, because racism is learned. We're not born. If you look at all the videotapes of babies, they're all playing with each other. Toddlers all play with each other. They don't see color. And so it is something that's taught. To see them as them against us, to see them as a separate part of us. And then, of course, then the natural part of the brain comes in to be suspicious. And they did studies on how Nazi Germany, how the soldiers can do such egregious things and then come home and kiss their kids hello and be nice to their pets. They couldn't understand, and it's because they were brainwashed to think they were bad. And so we need to protect ourselves from them.
So it all really does come down to fear versus love.
Oh, it's always fear. Yeah. It's always about
this
fear.
planet is fear-based.
Yeah.
And we're going to have all kinds of experiences right now that will lead everybody to fear.
And ignorance
or
has
love.
No color.
Right.
Ignorance has no color. So
yeah.
So true, John.
Everybody. So it doesn't matter
yeah.
what color they are.
Yeah.
And the reality is that we have to really look at, the reality that it still exists. It really does. And, as a kid, I mean, this is where my left brain I couldn't understand in my head how the color of someone's skin would make the difference. I just couldn't understand it, because to me, they're humans, and I just couldn't understand why that would make a difference in how you would treat people or how you view people. And I still don't.
I know.
Even when people say, oh, you date, a certain race or something. No, I date humans. If I like them, I date them. And if I don't, I don't. I just never understood that.
You've always been that way.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I watched Roots, came out in 76, and I was 10. And I hid my face at school for a week because I didn't want to be associated with the oppressor. I'd rather be part of the oppressed. And my mother, who's very Catholic, said, well, if you pray to God, he'll make your wishes come true. So at night I would pray that I would be black, that he would turn me into a black person so I can be a part of the oppressed. It was so horrific what they did. And I certainly watched that show when I was too young, but I couldn't imagine that level of hatred because of the color of someone's skin. And I didn't want to be associated with that group.
Yeah.
It's horrific. And to think that just because it's been a while that it hasn't been passed down. I just assisted Peter in a training last weekend on intergenerational trauma and ancestral trauma, and it does affect the genetic pattern. So to think that people wouldn't still hold that in them when racism still exists, whether it's more subtle now, or at least it used to be more subtle than as overt as it is now, it still exists and it still hurts and it still triggers that.
Well, it's Carrie that does family constellation therapy,
Yes.
and she
Yeah.
talks about that trauma goes back 13 generations behind and
Yeah.
13 generations in front of us. And
Yeah.
so each time there's a bigger event, like where we are headed right now,
Yeah.
it's an opportunity to help release the old patterns, the old ways,
Yeah.
and to raise your consciousness
Absolutely.
so
And
you
you have to
don't
be
carry
very,
it
yeah,
forward.
yeah. You have to be very conscious, because in order to change something, particularly when it's programmed in the brain like a negativity bias, right? To remember everything negative and positive stuff, who cares? Because as a way for the species to survive, you have to be very conscious to help yourself, switch that or at least balance it out,
Mm-hmm.
and very purposeful.
Right. What is a
So,
good way to become conscious, do you think?
well, I think, reminding yourself that we're all connected, even if you learned differently from your parents because they didn't know any better, to start to switch that and start to maybe interact with different people, who you might have a bias against, and really start to see, maybe imagine using imagery to see yourself connected, your energy connected with everyone.
In another way is to get into an empathic state of what it would be like to be in somebody else's shoes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I know that there are people that have no empathy.
Yeah.
And how does somebody with no empathy learn empathy? I think they just have to get beaten down or something. Something has to happen, or they'll just come back on this hamster wheel again and again until they get it.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're a sociopath or a psychopath where you really don't have the connections in the brain or the chip for it,
Okay.
but then you wouldn't worry about it either. You wouldn't even question yourself.
Right.
But empathy is taught, but it's also innate. You see it in the studies that they show with babies, and even in monkeys. There was one study where one monkey was getting grapes as a treat and the other one wasn't. And when the monkey realized that, he stopped accepting the treats until they would give it to his buddy. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's innate,
When my daughter was 2 years old, I was in a car accident, and she was not in the car with me, but I was home from work, and she was in my lap, and she was asleep, and I was watching Roots. I mean, I've told the story before, but I was watching Roots. When you had a video in those days of the video, and I popped the video in, and I'm holding her, and she's asleep, and I'm watching it. Then all of a sudden, I felt this warmth, water actually, on my arms as I was holding her. I said, "What is that?" And unbeknownst to me, she'd been watching the movie, and she was sobbing.
Oh,
She was 2.
oh, wow.
So, and I knew then, wow, I have an empath, a big empath
Yeah. Yeah.
here.
Yeah. It's important to consider. And many times, if you haven't lived it, you don't know what it feels like. But as you said, then try putting yourself in someone's shoes,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's the only way that we're going to be able to have some new consciousness shift.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And imagine it. I mean, my daughter's biracial. And when I was dating her father, I remember we went to a restaurant and we got seated by the kitchen. In my mind, I'm like, ah, restaurant's busy. We just got a shitty seat. Whatever. In his mind, maybe it's because I'm black. Now, whether that's true or not, the fact that that crossed his mind and it didn't even occur, I mean, it wasn't even anywhere near my, that's the piece. That meant that he had experienced it many, many
Right.
times, and certainly I hadn't. And to have to wonder about that, not that it made a big deal about it or didn't even, but to have to wonder that on a daily basis, at some point you can imagine how that anger would just start to build and start to build and start to build.
And it would lead to such anger and then such depression and then such oppression.
Yeah.
I mean, and
We
then
have to we have to consider that. We can't just pretend that it doesn't exist. You know, there's something actually called post-traumatic slave syndrome, and it's a condition that exists as a consequence of centuries of chattel slavery, followed by institutionalized racism and oppression that resulted in multi-generational adaptive behavior. You know, for some positive, reflecting resilience, but others that are harmful and destructive. That is real. We can't just pretend that that doesn't exist.
What about that poor man that was in the Central Park in New York? He was a birder, graduated from Harvard, African American man. I think he was watching birds. I mean, he was like late 50s. And that white gal, I mean, she starts saying, you know, he said to her, "Would you please get your dog on a leash?" Which I'd be screaming that too, Frank. Anybody would be saying that. I can't stand when dogs aren't on a leash. And she flipped out and she started screaming at him, you know, I'm going to call the police on you and all this. It was insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. And, you know, trauma is passed generationally. It is from an energetic standpoint, like you talked about that Carrie works with, but also from a genetic standpoint. And that has to be taken into consideration. It's not as easy to say, well, it happened years ago and it doesn't exist anymore. It does. It does. And it affects both social and emotional intelligence. You know, it affects how we hear people and the filter that we hear it through. It affects on how we communicate to people and our tone, our prosody, the words we use, all that, our body language. You know, it can keep us in our comfort zone and never risk and never live to our full potential because it keeps us, you know, from taking any risks. So it has a lot of effects.
My goodness. Wow. Such a powerful thing you just said.
It's, you know, because when we look at it, you know, it's a systematic problem. You know, trauma has systematic issues. In other words, you know, as you were talking, Kelly, that's why we have to be very, very conscious, and we must be honest and change our thoughts, our speech, our actions, the way we talk, the way we think. Notice when it shows up. I know none of us want to, you know, admit to ourselves that there was a stereotypic thought, you know, and we need to admit it to ourselves and be compassionate with ourselves. You know, if you know you're a nice person, you know that about you. So if you have a stereotypic thought about someone, you know, be kind to yourself, but notice it, because that's what's going to wake your consciousness up.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, let folks know that we have the phone lines open at 213-893-4464. You can call in with your questions, comments, or story. We're not doing readings during this particular show. You can do that on Thursday with Kel at 2 p.m. Pacific time for our Thursday check-in. And so let's bring back the conversation around to what do we do during these challenging times for everybody who's just overwhelmed and going through this. It's like pandemonium. I mean, it's so much all at once. You know, it's one thing to be throwing a curveball, one thing to deal with one particular issue, but this is like compounded issues.
Well, and you know, for me, John, what I do is I step outside. If anybody can do that, you know, with COVID and depending on where they are, but I step outside. I walk outside, take my shoes off, walk outside. I've got to get some fresh air. I have to change my thought patterns because if I just stay in this energy, it will make me very sad. But the other thing is, you know, I did cry a lot yesterday, and crying really does help the soul, frankly.
Oh, yeah.
I really did. I was so surprised. I got hit so hard with everybody's emotion and my own, you know, of what I went through. But it felt good to cry. I just let it out.
Crying is a release. It's a wonderful release for the nervous system. That just lets us know that our nervous system got overwhelmed. Sometimes it's because of happiness, and we cry, we shed tears of happiness, and sometimes it's because of pain or sadness.
For me, it was like it was traumatic. It was from what I had gone through, you know, during the Rodney King situation. It was so traumatic for me. My God, I remember I did this special therapy,
EMDR.
At EMDR, and they asked me, you know, the top 3 traumas that I had, and that was number 3, but it was a big one,
Yeah.
of traumas. It just shook me to my core. So I think, John, that really is people, you need to pay attention to what's going on, see how you're feeling about it, and then ask yourself, where is racism? Am I racist? Where is it coming from? Who do I know that's racist? And then look in your family, look at the history. I mean, start to be an investigator of your own life. This is the time to wake up. This is the time to wake you up too. Everybody needs to wake up.
Yeah.
Get a spiritual stance. Get into a spiritual stance.
Only you can switch it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
time to
Only
be
you
what we
can
call
switch. I'm
a
sorry, what
cycle
was that?
breaker. Time to be what we call a cycle breaker. Break the
Yes.
cycle.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah. It just can't continue this way. It's completely unfair. And besides that, it's inhuman.
Mhm.
It really, really is. I remember during the Rodney King things, because you know me, I'm a little bit of a rebel. So I was investigating child abuse, and I was so angry after that. And so I was working with, and I used to go in at night, and we used to get a case from the hotline, and it was, such and such is happening at this house. And so I'd go in the house and see what was going on. And I would go with the police always because, I'm not that intimidating, although I can be. So, and it was right after the Rodney King things, and I was having this conversation with this cop, and I said, well, it's because of assholes like Powell, which I think was one of the main guys. I go, that give, all the cops a bad name, people who have this, and he goes, I trained Powell. And I went, oh, well, maybe then you didn't do a very good job, did you? And I thought, okay, if something goes down in this house, I'm not going to be protected.
Right.
But it was okay. But it is. I mean, I study, I remember for my dissertation on the personality profile of people who choose to be in law enforcement. Because
Wow,
there
Shirley.
is, there is a correlation there of, a lot of times people who were bullied and now get to bully. And I remember there was a guy at the gym who was a cop, and he used to talk about and be so proud in talking about how he used to handcuff them and then kick the shit out of them. And I would say, why don't you do it without handcuffs and see how tough you are? So we need to wake up. We need to not stand for it, even if it's just in your own mind and in your own spirit. That is part of the energy that we're emitting out. And you've taught me about that. You, Kelly, and Prajna teach me about the energy. And I think if we all switched our energy to not tolerate any kind of racism, then it would start to, I think, as a wave.
Well, and
this is more your area.
absolutely. Well, it would. And also, everybody needs to look at, again, how are they feeling? Can they switch from fear into a love position, into love? And it really makes all the difference. It's everything, actually. If you can make that switch from from fear into love. Yeah, exactly, John. What are you reacting from? Now, there's going to be a lot of fear. This planet's going to be covered in fear. We got all those planets, and each one is a test. Each one you can say, it's bullshit, and go right through the fear and into love, and turn into some very powerful love here. This is a time to go into deep meditation, reflection. Again, look at family lineage and vow that you're the one that makes the change in your life. You're not going to take it anymore. And, this is going to come down to, brother against brother, sister against sister, all kinds of stuff we're going to see that, it was always there anyway. It's just going to fly out.
Yeah.
And stand up for yourself. Stand up. Use your voice. It's powerful. Use your voice to this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Love has to overpower fear. I saw the sign. I was driving today, and I saw a sign that said, drive as if your kids live here.
Oh, I've seen that. Yes.
That really, because again, we can relate, and this is just how the brain works. We can relate more when we have, kind of a dog in the race, right? Or a horse, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever in the race. And so pretend, if you're not able to connect with what happened with with this kid, with George Floyd, if you can't connect to that, imagine if it was your son. Then you can connect to it.
Right, Shirley.
Then you'd be right there riding with everybody else. I know I would. So that's how we can start to shift.
Make a really good point with that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really good, Shirley.
Yeah.
What if
And
that were your son, your
Your
brother,
your father, right,
your
right.
father?
Then you would that would motivate you
That
to
would do it. I got chills
that
when you said that.
yeah,
That's a good
that's
one.
how we can
Hmm.
shift it.
Yeah.
Mhm. And also be careful what you're taking in on social media, what you're absorbing on TV, because so
Hmm.
much of that is programmed for fear response.
Hmm.
So you,
Absolutely. Check the facts on everything.
Mhm.
You can't just go by something that you're hearing. Check and see how factual it is, because unfortunately, there's a lot of trolls out there that are
Yes.
putting things to keep people in the fear-based place,
Hmm.
Mhm.
you know? And if we pay attention to that, we'll go right into fear. It's so easy to go into fear.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to slip.
Yeah, and
It's
that
easy
doesn't
to
mean there's
slip.
not things to be feared about. Yeah, the people
Mhm.
looting, not cool.
Well, let me just say this
Not
too.
cool. But
This during this new phase that we're in, this revolution, if you will, we'll call it a
Mhm.
spiritual. It'll be a spiritual revolution. It'll be a revolution. It'll be all kinds of change. But
Mhm.
what comes out of this, and I do want, there's light in the back of that of the thing that you put up, John, that
Yeah.
image. And
Mhm.
the truth is, this is all happening for a reason, because in the next periods of time, we're going to see change occur in our life. We're going to see it. I believe it. I really have hope that we're going to see change. I think it's going to be a rocky several months here.
mm,
And I think it's going to wake a lot of people up. And ultimately, this is leading to a purification, if you will, of the soul, of everything that we need to be clear up.
it has to. We can't
Has to.
continue to live like
Hmm.
this with this amount of hate just based on someone's color of their skin or all the ridiculous, ridiculous hate crime against Asians, people from Asian countries after COVID hit. I mean, we need to smarten up as a society. We
I
really
know.
do. That is just ridiculous, and it's so hurtful and so painful. And again,
Mhm.
what if somebody was bullying your kid because they were of Asian descent after the COVID hit? I mean,
Mhm.
it makes
Well,
no
this
makes no
well
sense.
this dimension has such low frequency, such low vibration. It really
Yeah.
does. I did this show this week or last week. It's going to be on. I don't know when it's going to be on now because of everything that's going on. But with these actresses, and one of the actresses called me a vibration snob.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was like the greatest thing I've ever been called.
That's hilarious.
Oh,
That is
it's
so
hilarious.
funny.
But it was the
Yeah.
truth. I am a vibration snob. And
Mm.
when I view people, I don't could care less what they look like. I just look at how ignorant they are. Or
Mm.
I look at where they are. Where are you spiritually? Where are you?
Mhm.
And that I really am a vibration snob that way. Because I feel like in this dimension, I'm here to wake people up, to have an awakening,
Yeah.
to be the voice to wake up. Come on, everybody, wake up.
But why wouldn't you, if you just look at it that way, why wouldn't
Mhm.
you want to be around people or be the kind of person that's accepting of all people? There's assholes in all races.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to be around an asshole,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
why wouldn't you want to be the kind of person that is accepting of everyone?
Yeah.
And the ingredient you look for is nice. Just be nice.
It really does go down to kindergarten. Don't throw sand in the sandbox. Everybody be nice. Don't
Share your
spit.
toys.
Don't hit. You share. Be kind. Be nice. It is everything you learned in Kindergarten 101. I think there was a book on that years ago, but it's really true.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
does come down to that simple things in the Bible. Be nice. Be kind. Simple.
It's interesting
right.
because so much of what we've discussed in previous episodes, right, have been about self-care, self-compassion, awareness, forgiveness, letting
Mhm.
go, dealing with curveballs, so much, or
Yeah.
and we're dealing with all of it right now. So we get to really practice.
Oh, okay. Everybody's gonna practice. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the real thing now. It's like
Yeah.
we've had years to practice.
Yeah.
Now everybody, guess what? You get to put it in play.
Yeah.
Every experience that you thought you didn't have to have, guess
Mhm.
what? You're wrong. You do have to have it.
Yeah.
Next, it's going to be experience after experience, which means you're going to have choice after choice after choice. How do I want to respond? Respond with love and kindness. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you the answers. Love and kindness. That's how you're going
Yeah.
to that's
Yeah.
how you're going to do it. It's not tough. It's not difficult to do.
Mm.
Anybody can do it. Be nice, be kind, be calm, be patient. this energy that we're headed into, if it's already begun, is going to shake us up intensely.
Yeah.
It's designed to knock us loose. It's designed to knock out whatever has blocked your energy for fear. And then you're going to see it's an illusion anyway. Okay, we are consciousness that is put onto our little avatar bodies. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And then we go home to the other side.
Little avatar
And then
bodies.
little avatar bodies. And then we have to come back again, guys. Okay, I keep saying I'm not coming back. So please get your shit together, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is the perfect time for this quote and image. It says, "The path isn't a straight line, it's a spiral. You continually come back to things you thought you understood."
I love that.
Right? You thought you understood and see deeper truths.
Oh, John, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Deeper
And that's
truths.
exactly what you were talking about with the astrology and the Saturn and Aquarius and all of that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Well, that's
each time it's deeper and deeper.
deeper truths.
And question yourself.
Yeah.
Respect yourself enough to say no to be around people who, again, aren't nice. I remember years ago, I'd met this gal, and she was getting married. We became really good friends at work, and she was a Christian, and always said that she was going to get to heaven before I was, because I considered myself a Catholic back then. And so I thought that was kind of weird, but whatever. And then when she told me, she asked me if I would be in her wedding, and then she told me that she couldn't have her best friend from little kids in the wedding because she was too fat and she was going to ruin the pictures. And that's when I said, "And you're the Christian who's going to get to heaven before I do?"
Wow.
I respectfully denied being in her wedding. That stuff doesn't make any sense. And I chose not to have her as a friend anymore because I didn't want that in my life. So it takes strength and it takes respect of yourself enough to say, I can't, and you can do it kindly, but I can't have you in my life anymore. I don't want people who aren't nice.
Yeah, and who are not aware.
Yeah, because that's part of being not aware, to be so unconscious, to say something so horrific. I mean, so horrific. I was, and you can imagine back then, this was years ago, maybe I was, 22. So this was way before my own spiritual, my mouth, my left brain was going, boop, boop, boop. I mean, it didn't make any sense. Imagine. It's just like, what?
That's funny.
It's, wow. We have 2 calls waiting. Let's go ahead with the calls.
You got it. So we're going to area code 909 first off. Let's see. 909, are you there? And can we have your name, please, where you're calling from?
Hi, my name is Dana. I'm calling from Montclair, California.
Hi, Dana.
Hi. I guess I'm calling because I'm facing an anniversary tomorrow of my son's passing, and I'm just really struggling.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dana. I'm sorry. Yeah, that would be a tough one. I'm sorry. Did he just pass away last year?
It feels like it. No, this is his 4th year of being gone.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So sorry. That's never easy. Never easy. And people who tell you that it's going to get easier haven't experienced it. It's not.
No, they haven't.
And Kelly will be doing readings on Thursday if you'd like to maybe try to see if you can get a message from your son. But also, James will be doing an evening of spirit as well on Friday. So if you want to look into that with James Van Prague. Yeah.
Okay. I will.
Thanks, Dana. Just know this, Dana. He's around you. He's around.
You'll
feel him a lot.
You'll
feel him a lot.
Time, especially going through all of this and then having that come up, because I mean, we're going through the collective fear, the collective pain, the collective, chaos, and then we've got our own personal things that we're going through on top of it. So it's just
make a good point. A very good point.
I would do things that really nurture your soul, Dana, tomorrow. Light a candle. That always helps me. There's just something about the light of a candle that really helps me, calm. And put on music that was either his favorite or something that calms you down, and just try to keep yourself in that state as much as possible and cry. Feel your emotions and let them come.
Yeah. He's around you, Dana. Just know that. Call in on Thursday. We'll do a
Ask
reading
for
on
a
Thursday.
sign, Dana.
Yeah, ask
You
for a
taught me
sign.
this,
That's
Kelly.
great.
Kelly and Carrie always teach me this. Ask
Mhm.
for a sign, and I'm certain you'll get one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to area code 847. 847, thanks for holding. Is this Wendy?
Yes, it's Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
Hi.
Thanks for calling in.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi. The reason I'm calling, I don't know, I just feel so like angry and, you know, upset at everyone around me that has just been so either disconnected from reality and on their own little, you know, vacations, not, you know, pretending like nothing's going on, or they're, you know, angry at each other and being horribly mean and unkind. And I'm just trapped as, you know, the empath in the middle of all the horrible energy, trying to constantly, you know, do what you were saying, ground and walking around in nature and meditating.
It's tough to be an empath. It's tough to be an empath during this time. It's really hard. And especially if you're feeling everybody's empath is when you feel everybody's pain, or you can feel everybody around you. You know what they're thinking, you know what they're feeling, and especially if their feelings are different than yours, you may not feel supportive.
Right.
You know, that's a big one too. If somebody's on this side and you're on this side, and yet you know they're angry, and then you're picking it up, and that makes it a little rough. It makes it rough for empaths. This is not an easy time for empaths, but it's never an easy time for empaths. I used to say, I've always said this. Next time I'm coming back as Shirley. I just want to be like this. I don't want to have. I'm not going to feel anymore.
No, wait a minute. I feel. Okay?
You know what I mean.
But yeah, not like you.
But you can cut it off. When you're an empath, you can't cut it off. It's really tough.
It doesn't make sense. I can cut it off, but the pain, I can't. I can't like you know what happened, George Floyd. I can't. That pain, I can't watch the video because that pain lives with me, and it sometimes becomes very debilitating. I can feel emotional pain. Yeah. Yeah, like when the kids were being separated on the border.
Oh,
I couldn't because I know I can feel with the kids, the desperateness, the despair. I could feel it. So that's really, really difficult.
Well, you know, let's talk about that. Despair is a big one. Despair. People are feeling despair right now.
Yeah.
A lot of despair.
It's debilitating. It really is.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Wendy, just take some time for yourself, as Shirley said. Take some time for yourself. Okay, we'll all get through this. It's just going to take some time, and we're just in the middle. We're just in the beginning, you know, of this storm.
Yeah.
But it will pass. It will pass.
Yeah, it's important to do a lot of self-care. Take some time. Stop watching the news for a little bit. Give yourself a break. Do things that are very, you know, nurturing and soothing for yourself. It's important to do that.
Yes. Thanks for calling, Wendy. We got area code 559. Is this Stacy?
Yeah, this is Stacy. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
No, I'm getting.
So I just had a question. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just had a question about how we might help our children who are empathic through this situation. My daughter's having a really rough time.
How old is your daughter?
She's 12.
Oh, I bet. That is tough. Out of curiosity, what is her birth date, your daughter? And I'll tell you, I'll talk in general, but I'm just curious what her birth date is.
It's September 13th.
Yeah, these September birthdays are going to be tough. They're all going to be tough September because there's such empaths in September. The Virgos. She's a true Virgo any which way I look at it. That's it. That is, and she would be at a heightened state of worry because she comes in with an overactive mind anyway, which is a good thing because you keep her occupied. But as an empath with an overactive mind, it could come up with a lot of things. So how do you keep the 12-year-olds? Teach them crystals. Show them crystals. Get them involved in something spiritual. Crystals are spiritual. Show them how to plant a garden. But do something with their energy. In other words, teach them something about love and about hope and about this is where the messages get into their brains. Teach them about love and hope.
Okay.
And spirituality. Teach them spirituality. About we love, we're kind, we have compassion, those kind of things.
And also try to get her to channel that energy into creativity, because a lot of mind activity could be used for creative purposes.
Absolutely. Get her into art or music or writing or anything that she can put her energy in.
Depending on what she's having an issue with, if she knows about what happened, maybe send a message to the family, a kind message. Something like that, so she can feel a part of.
Oh, I love that idea, Shirley. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Thanks for calling in,
thank you so
Stacy.
much.
We'll see you in the video chat.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah, a lot of these ladies I know from the video chat. That's what I was mentioning earlier. So we're getting to really grow the community, and really a deeper bond is being formed in the video chat. So we're going to be meeting in the video chat room after the show. So just want to put that out. So after the show, we'll be meeting in our video chat room. If you're not in our group, please join the group.
I need to figure out how to be able to do that. I have a wonderful, wonderful computer guy that helps me out. I'm going to ask him, because I think it might be because I have 2 accounts on Facebook and I can't seem to get on that video chat, but I'm going to figure it out so I can jump on once in a while and say hello.
It's fun. It's fun. I've done it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's been really helpful to have during this particular time. I mean, where we all can and hold space for one another. Yeah.
Absolutely. Support is a big one too. Don't isolate and feel alone. Reach out. Even if it's online, that's plenty of support. Reach out and feel a connection with at least one other person, if not a group of people, of like-minded people. That's going to be really helpful too.
Yeah. All right, we have our last caller for the evening. I believe this is Susie from Thousand Oaks. Susie.
Hi, Susie.
Hi, Susie.
Hi.
Hi there. How can we help you?
What was that?
How can we help you tonight?
Oh, I've experienced reverse racism and discrimination the past couple years, and it's really, really hurt me. And I just don't understand why some Black people can be so, I'm going to cry. It just really hurt me. And one of it happened in college, and I was in a program I really loved, and they had a mostly Black administration, and I was accused of being a racist. And I know I didn't say anything wrong. And I have a neighbor downstairs that just refuses to talk to me, and I just don't understand.
Seems like you're getting, you're being able to feel firsthand what people of different races have felt, particularly the African Americans here their whole life. So it's, I would suggest if you can, and sometimes there might be, again, everyone is human also, and maybe the person downstairs maybe has a personality disorder or something that you don't want to mess with. But I might suggest that you, initiate communication by just leaving a gesture, like a flower, or something that would maybe try to shift the dynamic between the two of you.
Yeah, I always tried to say hello and be friendly with them, and I just get basically stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes sometimes people view the whole race, as everyone against them, and it goes both ways. And so it's unfair. And I think that's what people are fighting for right now, to stop that unfairness and treat people and get to know people as human beings first. And again, you're a jerk, then you stop talking to them. But get people, getting to know you as a human being, as opposed to making a decision based on the color of your skin.
And the other thing, Susie, is start directing love to yourself. Start directing a lot of love into you, from you. Love from you to you. A lot. Just keep going in there with love.
And you know what? Along those lines, Yeah, but along those lines, Kelly, Susie, direct love to them. Even though they
absolutely.
directing love to them, you might notice a shift. I mean, powerful things
Soften our heart.
happen
Mhm.
when we direct love towards even people who hurt us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's not easy to do. It takes a
Yeah,
lot of strength and courage.
Mhm.
I've been trying and trying, but it's just like I have this big knot in my stomach.
Yeah.
Like, just keep your mouth shut,
No.
Yeah.
Just take better care of yourself. Start loving yourself. That's why I started there. Start loving yourself. Send love to yourself. And then let it just go right directly to that third chakra, to that stomach area. Just start sending lots of light and love to that. Just keep doing that over and over and over. That should be your mantra. The first thing before you go to bed, first thing you do. First thing you wake up, first thing you do. Middle of the day, that's what you do. You start changing the patterns in your brain and changing your soul starts to change and come back alive again. That's all. You could do it. You could do it, Susie. You got into this call line. You could do it.
Yeah, and the reason it's so important, Susie, it's self-compassion is so important because
Right.
otherwise you feed into the opinions of other people.
Right.
What does James say? People's opinions about
What
what
other people think is none of your business.
yeah. Other people think of me as
No,
none of
I agree with that.
Yeah. There you go, Susie. I heard your energy come back up.
From them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when if they send you negative energy, meet it with love
Yeah,
and send it right back to them. And that's all energetic work. It doesn't mean you have to say anything or you even have to look their way. Just notice it energetically and send it right back with love.
Yeah, put up your
And
mirror shield.
Right.
Exactly. And you'll start to notice a shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the left brain telling you this because I've done
Uh-huh.
it and it has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for calling,
I've
Susie.
studied all this, different races and what's going on in history and all that stuff. And I do have empathy for these people, but, don't take it out on me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Well, thank you for calling in, Susan. We hope you feel a little bit better from the advice you received, and you stay strong and connect with us in the group if you can. Come in the video chat after the show. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie.
Bye.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, pain of not being, accepted is painful. It stimulates the same the same physical pain centers in the brain. It hurts, even if it's a group you don't even want to be associated with. So it does hurt on either side.
Yeah.
And that's what these protests are fighting, and that's what we need to fight against as well. Energetically, like we've been talking about.
All right. So if you folks have not joined our group, please go ahead and do so. The information on how to do so is at the bottom of the screen. Just go to Facebook, click on our Both Sides Now TV page, and click the Visit Group button. You'll see the room will be open shortly right after, and we look forward to meeting you. And if you haven't been there, and if not, then we welcome you. And we also look forward to reconnecting with those that we've been connecting with all through the week. So. Thank you, ladies. This has been great. It's been a tough show, but
thank you. Yeah.
Really empowering advice.
Yeah. Thank you. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
So take care, everybody, and check it with Kelly tomorrow on Soul Care with James.
At 2 p.m. Central.
Yeah, 2 p.m. Central, which is noon Pacific time. All right. Take care, everyone.
Wonderful. Bye.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo Dr. Shirley and Kelly White. Two perspectives, one world.